What's up guys, Evan Jarvis here. In today's video, you are going to learn how to build bigger pots early so that you can steal them later. How to specifically adjust your raise sizes based on the players behind you. How to use inflection points to steal more pots, both pre-flop and post-flop. The difference between trying to be the best player you can be and trying to make the most money you can playing poker. And finally, the most powerful mindset you can have when playing tournament poker. This is part 3 of a 3-part series, so if you haven't yet watched part 1 and 2, I invite you to do so. I've placed a link in the video description so that you can watch those videos, get up to speed, and get the most out of this video. And when you've done that and you're ready for some action, then keep on watching because we getting stacking.
So, continuing, the 5 pre-flop plays you need to succeed so far. Open more when it's unlikely anyone will 3-bet you. Number 2, 3-bet target players opening 20% of the hands or more. And number 3, fold more to 3-bets when you're out of position. All right, let's continue. Again, trying to get one person to put a ton of money in the middle with a bunch of weak hands so we can steal that money later. Let's do some rapid fire hands. Be sure to write down your answers somewhere, or at least remember the specific sizings, exact places you folded, etc. So here we have 3s. I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to look at everything. If you're playing online, I'd like to mention you usually don't get that much time. And if you're distracted by the sound of my voice, I have to ask, do you listen to music with lyrics when you're playing? It's possible that doesn't bug you, but my voice does, but it's also possible they both distract you if you were having a hard time focusing there. What's your move? Fold, call, or raise? And if you say C, you have to say an amount. Okay, time is up. So here we have 6s in the cutoff. It's folded to us. What is your move? And if you say C, you have to specify an amount. Okay, time is up. You have 9, 10 of clubs under the gun plus 2. I'm going to give you about 5 seconds to look at this situation. Your move. C requires a raise amount. Okay, time is up. And now you have King 8 of clubs on the button. Blinds are 225, 450. Big blind has 10.8K, small blind has 12.6. What is your move? C requires a raise size. Okay, time is up. Now, what would you do if there was no ante? Would you do the same action? If you were going to change your answer, how would you change it? Okay, time is up. Let's go through these. All right, let's start going through these one at a time. We'll see if you can guess point 4 on my list of the 5 pre-flop plays you need to win. Here, what did you want to do? Here you have 4 rejam stacks going to 3. If they're going to 3-bet you, they're going to move all in. If you think everybody is too tight here, you can raise, but you don't need to raise much. For that reason, I believe fold is an acceptable answer if you just think everybody is going to be shoving so much. If you believe the people behind you are tighter, raising to 2.25x is a good move, because then people are either going to jam on you or they're going to fold. Probably you're not going to dissuade them if you raise 2.6x or higher, or more. So what that does is just sweeten the pot for these short stacks to just jam on you. And calling, I would not recommend, because this person can jam, this person can jam, this person can jam, this person can jam. And again, you're sweetening the pot for that action. How about this one? What did you want to do? Here, people have a very effective 3-bet bluff versus you. ZZZ 1221 and Droggle could easily make it 2.5k or 2.8k if you make it 900 or 1.1k. They'd be risking 2.8k tops to win 3k in the middle, but you would have to defend for almost all of your chips to do anything. This is called an inflection point. It's a very old school tournament idea. It works very well still. If you watch any great practitioner at a final table, you will see this repeatedly, especially when they wield the big stack. But if you were to make it 3.1x here, it spooks people. I have the statistical evidence to prove that people have a bias against it. They believe it's a punter from 2008 with jacks, because that's usually what they see when somebody opens to 3.5x. So it makes these people 3-bet you much less, but the big blind still, in most of my research, will call you with 35% of the hands, and then you get that database distribution I showed you at the beginning, which is very good. Now, whenever I advocate this, I get a couple of questions. One is, Alex, isn't this exploitable? The answer is yes, it is, but to exploit others, you must become exploitable yourself. Maybe you guys have heard me say this in other podcasts or whatever, but it's a really good example. Is if you know the goalkeeper is going to dive right on a penalty kick 80% of the time, and you're taking the penalty kick for your country in the World Cup, you'll probably kick left. But if he knows you made that adjustment, you're exploitable. You're gambling on the scouting report being right. In poker, you can defend yourself a couple of ways. One, what I do is I do open with my big hands this big as well. This makes for some monster spots when people do want to stand up to me, because if you want to see a guy never fold, wait for him to finally get the call to 3-bet your 3.5x. The 100x is going in. Most people don't make the decision to 3-bet the 3.5x and just give up once they're finally fed up with you, especially live. Two, you can't just accept that most of your opponents are not paying attention, especially if you're playing tournament poker where you get 40 hands with most people and then you never see them again. Online, most people are multi-tabling and just playing their cards. Live, people are on their cell phone or watching the Masters. So here, what did you want to do? You fold. Don't be blinded by how good the hand is, and this is a very good hand, or how big your chip stack is. Very nice stack. You have a lot of people behind you. That makes it more likely that someone will 3-bet you. If you open from under the gun and everybody behind you is only 3-betting the top 5% of their hands and they're still folding everything else, that still means you're getting 3-bet 1/3 of the time. Early position raises are always dangerous pre-flop. Short stacks are also a problem. The average 3-bet is 6%, but many people will shove a short stack with 12 to 14% of their hands. That increases their 3-betting range by double. And this is one of the most interesting hands in No Limit Hold'em, in my humble opinion. If there's an ante out there, I would say you have to raise to 3.1x to 3.5x. If there's not an ante, and say you were, let's say you're a little deeper stacked too, so at the beginning of the tournament when there are no antes, I would raise to 2x to 3x. And If there was no ante here too, I probably would raise smaller, even with these stack sizes. Now, why do you think my answers are different? If there's an ante you raise and everybody folds, how much do you pocket? 2.5x, right? Guys, 2.5x is what ace king makes on average. You get that with 0 variance, that's huge. Especially considering king 8 suited only makes about half a big blind on average from the button. So guys, just a little off script here. If you want to succeed in poker, you need to have a focus. Saying, I take what the table gives me, it doesn't sound like something you can act upon. If you ask most people what they want out of life, they're going to say success or money. But that's just a wish. A wish is not going to get you where you want to go. But if you have a definite plan of action and you work upon that, it's much more likely to happen. The question I always ask my students is, do you think Doyle Brunson ever walked into a game without knowing his edge? Do you think Chip Reese ever walked into a game without knowing his edge? Those guys knew who they could beat. They knew how they could beat them, and that's why they're buying ranches half the size of Montana. With poker, you need to know your edges and you need to execute them. Now, tournament poker, with cash game poker, I had my ways of making my money. There's a big difference between being the best poker player in the world and making money from poker. Excuse me, there's a difference between trying to be the best poker player you can be and trying to make money. If you're trying to make money, the way you do that is table select, table select, table select. And then it's about how much you can play at the table. So I had 4 or 5 plays that I ran pretty repeatedly when I did play low stakes cash. You guys just saw them. I 3-bet guys that opened too much. I also used to isolation raise quite a bit when there was a ton of limpers. We're not covering that today. I would open when I was really sure the really bad big blind would call me and I could play a deep stack pot with him out of position, really invested. But tournament poker is a little different because obviously there's different aims. It doesn't matter how many chips you have in the final 3. If you just have chips in the final 3, you get the lion's share of the money. That's very strange where in cash game poker, whoever has the most chips gets the most money. I believe they're different skill sets. I think that's the reason why Phil Hellmuth has 13 Hold'em bracelets, while Phil Ivey, to my knowledge, doesn't have a Hold'em bracelet. I remember very tight players on the poker tour making money, but there was a lot of wild men that would be here today, gone tomorrow. And I think there was a reason for that in tournament poker. Again, just if you cash with any amount of chips, you do have a significant payout jump. And if you're the guy who can be 26 out of 29 in a tournament and finish 4th every time, you're going to have a long tournament poker career. And there's a lot of guys like that. They're very quiet. I don't think they get as much credit as they deserve, but they're very impressive to me. And they take up a lot of my research time. Now, I think the starting point, a better starting point than I'll take what the table gives me, or I'm trying to win when I sit down at the table. I think the best aim in tournament poker is to say, I am trying to increase my chip stack by the greatest percentage with the least variance possible. Because if you say you're trying to make the most big blinds, well, that can be a little misleading. You can make a ton of big blinds at the beginning of the tournament, but it's going to be a very low percentage of your stack. And your big blind per 100 will say 7 or whatever it is. And you'll be like, why am I not winning at tournaments? But if you put with the antes and it's 2x, well, that's when it would really start affecting your stack. If you're racking wins at that time, it would be a high percentage of your stack. So our goal is always to increase our stack size by the greatest percentage possible with the least variance, right? Now, the way we're going to do that, at the beginning of the tournament, I believe when you're like 100 big blinds deep, I believe the way that you're going to do that is by getting the big blind to call you out of position. And if you think about it, at the beginning of tournaments, how many times have you looked up from your stack an hour and 20 minutes in and gone, where is 15% of my stack gone? That's because a lot of us at the beginning of tournaments, we feel like we have so many chips. We treat it more or less like Monopoly money. So we're a little bit more cavalier with the call out of the big blind. And let's say we have ace-3 on a king-9-3 board. When the stacks are 40 or 50x, we'll usually call on the flop and fold on the turn. But many guys will call with that hand again on the turn and then just screw it, call again on the river because they want to see what you have when they have 200 big blinds deep. And that's when they give away 15, 20, 25 big blinds. So when I'm in position, I really want at the beginning of tournaments, when if I were to raise and just take the big blind and small blind, it would be 1.5x. When I have 100x, that's only going to be about 1% of my stack. That doesn't move the needle that much. But if I get them to call out of the big blind and just call me down with pairs they otherwise wouldn't call down with, that increases my stack by 10 to 20%. Now, if there's like 35, 40 big blinds, let's say I have 25x and I raise bigger on the button and everybody folds and I pick up 2.5x, that's an extra 10% to my stack. That's a big deal. And as we saw, if the big blind calls us with so many hands, it's not a big issue. But this tends to be how you get an extra life in tournament, for me at least. I raise big, everybody complains, they fold. I raise big, everybody complains, they fold. I raise big, one guy calls me, check folds. Now I have 14x. That's an extra life in a tournament. You guys have won tournaments with 14x. I've won tournaments with 14x. And a lot of times people will just give that to you. And that's a really big deal when you have 35, 40x. So the 5 pre-flop plays you need to succeed right now so far. Number 1, open more when it's unlikely anyone will 3-bet you. Number 2, 3-bet target players opening 20+% of hands. Number 3, fold more to 3-bets when you're out of position. And number 4, vary your raise sizings pre-flop. Okay. For those of you who are doubting me on that, guys, do you bet the same thing for every continuation bet? How about on the turn? Do you always bet the same amount? River? If we put a supercomputer on the problem of no limit hold'em, what do you think the chances are the AI would find that every single pre-flop raise is supposed to be 2.5x? Early position, middle position, button, ante, no ante, every single one, 2.5x. I think we need to move away from that. I think I just gave you a strong framework for why we need to. I hope it helps you. All right, guys, one more. You're playing live at the Venetian. You have a bunch of crusty old Vegas pros at your table. You have 3-bet twice this orbit already. The second time you did, everyone chortled at you. That you bet the flop and got check raised, and you had to fold. This gentleman opens here. You saw him open ace-9 offsuit under the gun before. What's your move? All right, time is up. Guys, please raise. Until they've pushed back 3 times, F them. Every time someone pushes back on me, I wait for it to happen again. If someone 3-bets me and I think it's a bluff, I let it go. I wait for them to 3-bet me the 3rd time. Because anybody can pick up 2 hands. If someone 4-bets me, I let it go and wait for the 3rd time. The 3rd time almost never happens. In fact, like, it's been a long time since it happened. 95% of these guys lose money at poker. Why do you care what losers think? And of the 5% who make money, a lot of them get away by making money by never playing against an aggressive player who 3-bets very many hands. A good question on that 8-5 suited hand when we 3-bet is if the person's opening 20% of the hands, what can you 3-bet? What is the worst hand you 3-bet? You can go pretty low. You can go to 7-3 suited if you know for a fact the guy's opening 20% of hands. And most guys don't face that, somebody who will push back on them like that. And guys, do you think Michael Jordan ever cared what anyone thought of him and his intensity? Do you think Doug Polk cares what anyone thinks of him? You have to get the fear out of your eyes if you're going to be successful. If you're playing in a style that no one notices at your table, then you have gained the acceptance of losers. Until everyone is mocking you, you're not playing ball. What do you care what they think? Go and take their money. You know the math now. All right, one more time to review, guys, the 5 pre-flop plays you need to succeed. Number 1, open more when it's unlikely anyone will 3-bet you. Number 2, 3-bet target players opening 20% of the hands or more. Number 3, fold more to 3-bets when you're out of position. Number 4, vary your raise sizings pre-flop in regard to the situation. And number 5, stop caring what losers think. All right, guys, this video has been brought to you by Master the Flop. Guys, this is the video series I did that started it all. I'm still blown away by the results my students got after they watched this video pack. Without getting into too many details about my life when this video series was made, the long and the short of it is this. In the midst of a health scare, I was trying to recount like every post-flop trick I used to get folds and insane value out of marginal hands while always keeping the ball in my court. And these files were the result. I never thought they would be as popular as they were with my students and with people who bought these videos. In this series, you're going to learn how to play the most common trouble boards, get more value, check back correctly, and always stay in control. I show all my work. It's all combinatorics. You can see all the ranges. And just ask yourself, is that how people play? And if the answer is yes, the overwhelming majority of the time, that is how they play, then this will show you the exploitable plays that will help you get folds when you need them. I have a system that I teach that's very much about chopping out pots pre-flop and chopping out pots on the flop. And to go beyond that, you need Master the Flop. You've heard me discuss that in other videos here, which was, keep the betting lead, those kind of concepts, PBSH, position bigger pots, superior hands, heads up. This is expanding past all of this. This is, how should you be thinking during the hands? When should you check back a flop? When should you buy the showdown? How do you bluff people on high card boards? How do you bluff people on suited boards, wheeled boards, paired boards? When straight draws come out, flush draw boards, when all the board is small cards and more.
And that wraps up this part of the training series. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned a lot from it. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up to let me know how I'm doing. And if you learned something from this video, please let me know in the comments what your key takeaway or your biggest aha moment from watching this video was. I promise you, if you do that and then look at the other comments that are there, you're going to learn a whole lot more. This is the beauty of YouTube. This is the beauty of community. This is how we grow as a team, by sharing our insights, reading what others' insights were, and engaging in discussion to further develop those thought processes. I really hope you're enjoying this learning series. And when you're ready to watch more training lessons like this one, feel free to check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/grips, or come by my website, www.grips.com, and join Team Grips for exclusive discounts, offers, and training opportunities. We got a whole lot of good ones coming on the way, and I hope that you are someone I will be getting to share them with. Let's get stacking. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it educational and entertaining. If you want to join Team Grips, click on that subscribe button and tap that bell to be notified every time a new video goes live. For behind the scenes updates and motivational quotes from my poker journey, follow me on Instagram. And when you're ready to take one step closer to becoming poker's next champion, click on me in 3, 2, 1, and let's get stacking.